My Love of Life Energy is a podcast created by Anna Scott. Anna knows that every human being sees life uniquely. In this podcast, she will talk to people and learn from them. These conversations are to shine the brilliance of each human being she speaks to. Join her. After each exploration, you will expand on your insights and see truth and beauty.
Good morning and good afternoon, and welcome to my podcast, My Love of Life Energy. And Molly Lynch, the co-founder of Exquisite Being, is here with me. Welcome, Molly.
Hi, Anna. Thanks. It's good to be here again.
We're continuing our contemplation and exploration of a gene key. And Molly received beautiful feedback from one of her friends who listened to our podcast, and they're like, well, what the heck are the gene keys? So we're going to share, before we do a contemplation on the gene keys, we're going to explore it a little bit and share what it is.
Mm-hmm.
So what I'd love to do first, though, is explain how the gene keys came into our life.
Mm-hmm.
So Molly, how were you introduced to the gene keys?
Oh, I was introduced by a woman named Anne Van De Water, and that was at Rancho La Puerta, which is a resort down in Tecate, Mexico. It's a beautiful place. And she was there teaching meditation and sound healing and other things. And she's a wonderful person. And I just wanted to connect with her. So we started to connect, and she shared about the gene keys, or she said, what's your birth information? And she shared, and then she started talking about one of my spheres. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. And then it just started to come to me. Like, I'd see things on YouTube, of course. And then I just started to listen. And then I think that's pretty much it. I was hooked, or I felt this magnetism to this wisdom, and I couldn't let go. And now it's got me, and I can't escape. And it's beautiful. It's the most beautiful journey I've been on. What about you?
So I had been doing psychedelics. I had been doing a lot of Bufo, which is a 5-M. I always forget it. It's a psychedelic. Yeah, 5-MDO. And I'd have these profound experiences. And then I thought, and then I'd come back and be me. And I'd just be stuck in my patterns, and I couldn't do anything about it. And I remember a friend of mine, Julie Stewart, had been telling me that she'd been introduced to it. And one day I'd taken heart medicine, and I thought, I'm going to listen to one of these gene keys. And I listened, and I could feel the truth of it. It was in July of 2022. And since that day, I have listened to or studied a gene key every day. I've been hooked by it. I can't get out of it.
I just had this moment where thinking that we might have both been hooked by one of the invocations. Was it the invocation of the seventh seal? I think actually I was in my garden in the summertime, and that's the one I just came upon. So I'm feeling like now in this conversation, we're like, oh, hooked by the same line. But what is it?
So the gene keys, the best that I understand it, it is a transmission, a prophetic transmission that came through Richard Rudd, and it's a synthesis of different teachings, all the Eastern and Western teachings. It's based on the I Ching, it's based on astrology, and it's based on our DNA, the binary code in our DNA. And what he's pointing to is the the beautiful intelligence that's alive in every human being that's waiting to be activated.
Yes, the design and the frequencies within that design.
Yes.
To be activated.
That in every human being is this beautiful intelligence that has created all the universe, and that we're part of it. And it shows us, he has 3 different journeys. He has the activation sequence, which is in our body and our DNA, the gifts that we inhabit, the Venus sequence, which is about love, and our emotions, and how do we open our hearts?
And
And
it's
then the
about relationship.
prosperity is the mental domain, and it's how we share our gifts into life.
Mhm.
And each of these gene keys is based on a DNA code that's in our bodies. And when we contemplate them, meaning we pause, we reflect, we look, we're actually starting to run that energy or that frequency. We begin to become aware of it, that it's already in our bodies. And we become aware of it, and then we get to experience it. And it kind of like, in a sense, turns on, or I think it's always on. We're just not aware of it. That's
Well,
my
we're adding
guess.
our attention and our focus to that frequency, and thereby it awakens that frequency in resonance with the outer field in our experience, what we might consider an outer.
Yeah. And what's always inner is outer. What's inside of me is what I create on the outside.
And the actual frequencies that the gene keys kind of speak in the language of is the shadow, the gift, and the siddhi. So these are essentially different states of consciousness. If we want to look at it or speak to it in that way. But those are the frequencies that we are working with within this system, that we are contemplating within and noticing where we are resonant with any given frequency at any given point in our experience.
And what it did for me, seeing the shadow, the gift, and the siddhi, is it gave me an understanding or a place to look or notice how I was feeling, so I could know where I was.
Mm-hmm. Right. So location.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And how those are also kind of expressed is in the shadow, it would be your challenge, our challenge. In the gift, it would be our creativity. Like, how do we bring creativity from the challenge? And then the Siddhi, which is Siddhi, Siddhi. People might think CITI, but it's Siddhi. It's a state of consciousness, which is our essence. So our challenge, our creativity, and our essence. And it's like a distillation process, and it there's an alchemical quality to this. So as Anna and I share of the key or the spheres, often there's a feeling that, in my experience, that my frequency and the experience of that resonance within my body shifts in our conversations because we're moving through each one. It's really profound, actually.
You know, I had not heard it ever before until right now. I can't believe this about the shadow, the gift, and the siddhi.
Oh. Mm-hmm.
Of that it's the challenge, the creativity, and the essence.
Mm-hmm.
And what I just got was the essence of all of life is love.
Mm.
And it's creative by nature.
Mm-hmm.
And the challenge is, to me, and this is where the gene keys were so useful, is I would be caught in my thinking, my mind.
Mm-hmm.
And I just would be like in this little square box trying to move chairs around.
Yeah. Right.
And I wasn't bringing love or creativity to my life. I was just trying to be safe and survive in my little box.
Right. And yeah. So there wasn't much spaciousness. There wasn't much space to move and have a different idea or a different thought. It's a darkness of that narrow focus, let's say.
There was no creativity.
No creativity. And I see creativity as like the light, like the spark. Like the gift always feels like a spark to me. So moving the chairs around in the room, it's like, wait, I'm going to sit down in one of those chairs and I'm just going to listen. I'm going to pause and listen to my heart. What do I need? Like, what is going to activate that creativity, that light in that moment? I'm talking in practice right now, but what you're speaking to is that the awareness that you're even in that state is part of the exercise.
That what you just said, Molly, is like, I want to say pin the tail on the donkey.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's it, is that I have to be aware of where I am.
Yeah.
And what you just said is so beautiful, is then to accept and allow it.
Yeah. Right. Right. And that's where you and I often explore, is like when we come up to our fear or come up to a shadow state that feels like, I guess, can feel really confining. It doesn't feel very free. It feels oppressive. That's one of the keys. So there's a feeling of like, how can I get out of this too? Like a push against that discomfort. And we often come back to that. But the Gene Keys is a way to work with those difficult, uncomfortable spaces in a loving, generous, spacious way. It's an embrace. And the intelligence is because, like, that love you're talking about, the intelligence to me is that love embracing always. And we get to open our heart to receive.
Well, this is what's so beautiful, is that the Gene Keys, what it gave me is an understanding that constriction that you just spoke about is built into the human form. It's a design.
Okay.
And what you and I have discovered through our exploration of the Gene Keys is the pausing allows us to slow down
Right.
and become aware of the constriction.
Mm-hmm.
And then to recognize that there's fear attached to it.
Often, yeah.
And when we pause, like I loved what you said, to sit in the chair and be with it, to allow it. And this is the 25th Gene Key. It's constriction, allowing, and universal love.
Oh, okay. Thank God you know them.
I do. I'm going to get the A on this one. You know what? It's not that I know them. I love them.
Yes. You are
I
that.
love them. Yeah.
And that's the
We're all
beautiful
them.
thing, that they are. Oh, I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Go ahead.
But that this is also this transmission, it's a living wisdom. I love that, those two words together, because it's never the same. The living wisdom part is that it's mutable and it's growing, and the design is expanding and the intelligence is enhancing, because that's life, that's the love moving through as awareness, and the spark to expand our consciousness further than we know. And God got us all that is willing. This is the time. There's so much happening in the world. It's like, oh, like I just said to my wife, Annie, earlier, I said, this is like no other time. This is the time to use all of our esoterics and our living wisdom. What else do we have? We have each other. We have the consciousness of unity, and we just move through into universal love, I guess.
But what's beautiful, like we're sharing what it's the Gene Keys have done for us. Like this woman who listened to our podcast, she goes, great conversation, but what the heck are the Gene Keys?
Yeah.
And I just saw this understanding in you being in, like, I don't know what's the word, playing with them and exploring and contemplating them, how it's made you feel safer in life.
Yeah. And more
to
free.
be you.
And I hear you speak of it over time. You spoke of it as a map, and you're like, this is a map, and it's so, when you said that, it was so, I'm like, yeah, I can open my map and look at it. What am I drawn to? Where am I drawn to go? Maybe it is to contemplate the 25th sphere, or to the 33rd.
Well, one of the things that I have seen that the Gene Keys have done for me is, and I think I've shared this with you, it was a place where my mind, there was so much information my mind could grab it all like a hungry beast,
Mm-hmm.
but it soothed me and realized I couldn't understand life.
Mm-hmm.
I could
Mm-hmm.
know life because I am life, but I couldn't understand it because
Mm-hmm.
it's a mystery. So I could start to let go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The threshold is real. The
Mhm.
surrender is real. Because in our restricted concept, I would have been taught how to think, how to feel, perhaps. This is a jump on the magic carpet ride right out of those concepts. Like, mm. But
This is this is the other thing that I wanted to say that the gene keys have done for me.
mm,
It's to trust everything I feel and allow it.
mm, mhm,
Trust it all. Doesn't mean I act on it, but whatever I'm feeling, whatever thoughts come through me, I trust them all. I mean, there's this beautiful line in the second gene key is to trust it all. It's been put there by God.
mm. Trust life.
Mhm.
Life knows what it's doing.
Right. And
And
I
just,
am part of this life in my own mysterious way.
hmm, yeah. Yeah. And the beautiful thing is too within that, it's like we're our own sphere, our own sphere. And then we work in harmony with all of the other spheres, not only our human family, but all
Mm,
beings. When we can ground in trusting life.
yeah. And allow for my humanity when I get
Mm,
scared or
yeah.
whatever. There's room at my table for that to be there.
Yeah. And that's what you do. That's your genius. That's part of your your hologenetic profile, which is the map, the visual map of the gene keys. Is that you're able to you're able to sit folks down in those chairs. You go, wait, and that's your genius. And that's part of why Exquisite Being is here to support people in that way. And these contemplations are just an expression of my love as well for the gene keys, but also knowing the alchemical piece of it is supporting as in service to the whole.
Yeah, and that I think that we've joked about it.
Mm.
That we've said it's a hard sell. We want people to feel their fear and trust it, realize
Right.
that fear is safe,
The pain, the fear.
and to feel the pain. It's like, well, there's a great marketing. Hi, we want you to feel your pain.
Come on over. Come on over. Sit on the couch. We'll make you tea. But
But
what is
what
that
we've
saying?
learned,
What is that invitation really, Anna?
what I've learned and know is the moment um, I know that I don't want to deny anybody their pain or their fear, and I don't want to go in and fix it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
The gene keys have shown me that it's a gift, it's part of this life.
Mm-hmm.
And when you and I, which we do so beautifully together, we get present with that pain and that fear, and we know that there's a city state that's bigger than it.
Mm-hmm.
And that when we're present, that pain actually goes back to the love.
Right. Yeah, it is. It is the love guiding us back. And the listening, you know, and just the
Yeah.
gift of listening is what you're really speaking to. Like I was listening to the second gene key yesterday in Richard's contemplation. He talks about that. It's like all that people really need is to be listened to actively, and nothing else needs to happen. We can really listen to ourselves, to each other. I know this is an echo, but I also know and feel the truth of it. The more I'm familiar with my own pain and my own fear and sharing that, because empathy is activated and compassion is activated.
Yeah. So what I know about you, Molly, is you have more light than any human being I've met. Like you're like this bright light. And what I've watched you do is be present with your pain in the human form
Mm-hmm.
and trust it,
Mm-hmm.
not run away from it, not try to fix it. And the more you do that,
Mm-hmm.
it allows you to be just present with somebody else's pain.
Yes.
And your light just shines through. So it's like, oh, wow, I just got this image of you being this bright light and their darkness comes and it just starts, you like transmute back light to them
Mm.
to remind them it's safe.
Yeah. That's the 36, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I noticed yesterday as I felt through my fear, my pain with you, and how it starts to feel like water moving through. I mean, there's tears, but in its actual feeling of moving and sitting and being loving with my suffering, essentially, that's the surrender, because love is the essence.
Mm-hmm. And I think you just said the thing that I've gotten the most out of the Gene Keys
Mm.
is my love for myself.
Yeah.
I wanted to fix me,
Mm-hmm.
make me better. I
Mm-hmm.
really, like I have one of the Gene Keys, the 48th inadequacy.
Mm-hmm.
And I have fallen in love with my inadequacy and my lack of self-worth
Mm-hmm.
and know that it was all a gift.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm kinder to myself. I love myself.
And that's your wisdom, right? Which is the acidic of that.
Yeah.
And that's, you just shared exactly the process of that. Like your wisdom held and was able to give the gift to your inadequacy. Like love yourself. This is about loving yourself.
Yeah.
And I've witnessed you over the time that I've known you, your transformation in that way from non-love to love of yourself has really been amazing.
I
Really.
wonder why I love the Gene Keys.
I know, right? It's like, I think he would say as well, it's not really for the faint of heart in some ways. Like you got to be ready for, I mean, there's a preparation in the heart. It's like it's time for whatever way that we get our tools to use in this life. But it's like there is a genuine sacrifice of like who we think we are. So in the starting to look at who I thought I was or who I am right now and how where have I come and where am I going? But at the same time, the gene keys is that path to the deeper connection within the heart.
Mm.
It is. It's the entrance into a stillness and a peace that is incomprehensible oftentimes, but it's present, you know?
Yeah.
And
I think,
yeah.
no, go ahead. I'm
No,
sorry.
go ahead. No, you're all right.
I want to honor, Richard Rudd and his
Oh yeah.
philosophy of what his creators come through him, and they have 4 pillars. Their 4 pillars, and it's about contemplation, pausing.
Mm-hmm.
Like take 3 minutes a day out, and we've done that. Like when Molly and I meet, we're always the first thing we do is we pause together.
Mm-hmm.
When
Point.
when we get caught,
Mm-hmm.
we'll pause.
Mm-hmm.
And then
listen.
we contemplate, which is what's going on. And we're patient and we're tender. And that's theirs.
Yeah.
So what we're doing together is we're coming together each week and we're going to contemplate one of the gene keys. And our intention is to bring the energy and see something new that might strike another human being, that they might see something new and open up more of that creativity in them and their essence.
Yeah. And, a lot of the great minds, let's say, and a lot of the saints, prophets, blah, 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 share that not only do we have the potential to experience our own love for ourselves, but are also to experience divine love, which is is also who we are. And then at the same time, that frequency, vibration, song, sound, and light are pretty much the foundations of the universe. And so when we remember that we are frequencies of energy, we are music, that we get to create that song, get to create a new song for ourselves and with others.
And what's so cool to me about this, Molly, is that it's in every human being.
Yeah.
I'm like, who are you? What's your song?
Yeah.
Like in the Discord, that's your 13th, is this empathy, but it's so beautiful in the Discord.
Right.
As my mother would say, I know there's a pony in that manure, and she was right. She was right. That saying that she raised me with is the truth.
It's true. Yeah. Yeah.
So that's why we love the Gene Keys. That's why we're sharing it. And that's kind of what they are. You can check it out at genekeys.com. Beautiful courses.
Yeah. And it was also born from the human design, which a lot of people know about, but Richard Rudd's gene keys are all heart.
Yeah. All love.
And he's a beautiful, wise, humble teacher, this man. Like, I call him my teacher, one of my teachers, but I feel like, I feel very honored to be a student of this, a humble one.
So whoever gave us that feedback, would you make sure to thank them?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm glad we found out more about the gene keys.
All right. Thank you, sweetie.
Thank you.
Till next time. So if you want to learn more about the Gene Keys and be with us the third Thursday of the month, we invite you to leave the noise of the world, come in and drop in and listen to your heart and explore a Gene Key with us.
Yeah, and you can look at Exquisite Being, exquisitebeing.com too, and just see what Anna and I are also up to there.
Thank you.
Thank you.